Because if you are around a passionate individual who is light themselves on fire and the world's ready to watch them burn brightly, you want to get some of that fire so you can burn brightly too.
There is something special inside you.
Welcome to GNG Podcast with your host, speaker, best-selling author, Chaz Jackson.
Yo, what's going on, kings and queens? It's your boy Chaz Jackson coming back to you once again, representing GNG Gifting and Gift. You are gifted differently to make a difference. So hopefully you hear me, and do you know why? Because greatness made you. Therefore, greatness is within you. And if you've been tuning in to GNG Podcast, you know that we're fired up about helping others echo that greatness in whatever lane the Lord's calling them to lead in. And I'm telling y'all, I have an amazing guest here to celebrate episode 100 with me. For those who've been tuning in and just being on this journey all the way up to this episode, I just want to first off just say thank each and every one of you for your time, your effort, your prayers, just being with GNG all the way up to this point. And this gentleman right here, King Dom, he was one of the original encouragers on this podcast. So we had to get this guy on episode 100. What's going on, Dom?
My man Chaz the Champ Jackson, baby. My man, episode 100, man. Like, dude, man, that's freaking huge, man. I'm honored that you chose me to be the guest for this episode, dude. Like, you could probably get shows with a ton of other people, but like, let me be on back on for episode 100, man. I'm honored, blessed, man. Like, dude, I'm definitely honored, man. And congrats again, man. Like, dude, you know, folks who start podcasts thinking they're gonna make millions of dollars, get a Joe Rogan contract from Spotify, and like have millions of downloads, and then they stop at episode like 10 or 15. Like, dude, you're at episode 100, man. Like, you're doing it, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I'm really receiving that. And once again, you played a huge part in that. And I think we had a conversation. If you haven't listened to Dom's episode, this is actually episode 30. My guy was on there. And I remember when we got off camera, I look at Dom as being an inspiration. I want to go ahead and shout out Going North Podcast. After you finish listening to this episode, go check out what this giant is doing. I think my guy's over 630 episodes, is killing the game. So I say that the moral of all that is I look up to him as an inspiration in the podcast world, him interviewing amazing people and just taking what he does really seriously. And you can really tell that each and every time you listen to one of his episodes that he care about you and serve people. So for me, I'm definitely extracting that energy from him as well. But going back to episode 30 of GNG, it was important for him to see me succeed. And I remember us having a conversation. I was like, if we make it to 100, when do we make it to 100? I rephrased that. Hey, you're going to be on 100. So that's why this giant is back on here with us. And I know you kind of went into your story on episode 30, but that was a little while ago. So what's the updated version on what's going on in your world in 2023? What can you share with the audience that don't typically know you as far as wanting to be able to understand a little bit more of what you do?
Sure thing, man. So I guess the first appearance was talking about the quiet kid who found his confidence, and then it's like, all right, so you got your confidence now, kid. What you gonna do now? Well, it's live life, try to advance, and help others in the process, no matter what setbacks will come on the way. And I've had some setbacks. I've had some left field moments, like I'm sure a lot of us have had, especially now that we're past the year the shall not be named 2020, where folks have got the COVID 31 pounds, and some folks have gotten that off. Some folks have added on to it. Yours guilty. And like really just dealing with that, but really just turning pain into power and just dealing with setbacks, just having the mindset to keep on going and just reminding myself of things that I've done and reminding myself I got great friends and great folks to look up to, like my man Chaz right here, who is like my man's a father and a leader in his community. Like, my man is doing things and just seeing great folks do things and seeing folks grow and encouraging others to really unleash their inner greatness. Like the name of the show, Gift and the Gift, the GNG, like gifted differently to make a difference. Like that is a powerful, that's definitely a powerful theme. And that's really where I've been at the moment, just really just using my gift to do more speaking in person. Looking forward to doing more of that. Got my chance this year to do that at Podfest 2023. Going to be doing that in May for the Maryland Library Association as well.
That's awesome,
And
man.
doing
Congratulations.
thanks a bunch, man. And just really looking to get my next book out about podcasting. Like this is probably going to be it's going to be my next best book. It's definitely my next best and greatest book because I've been delayed for this thing. I've been delayed longer with this third book than stay the course. So as the saying goes, God's delays are not denials. So we'll see how big of a gift this will be for the folks that'll take advantage of reading this book that'll eventually be an online course and see how big of a gift it's going to be.
Also, when is the other one dropping? For those, I got to stay in the course. I still this is a gym, so I'm excited to see how the new one's going to unfold about the podcast, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of gems in place for that. So, looking forward to that. Do you have a date for that yet, or is it still in the works?
Still in the works. Originally, I was thinking Q1 2023, but at this rate, setbacks come. So we'll see about Q2. Hopefully before summer 2023 or by summer. So hopefully by graduation.
I love it. We'll definitely be on the lookout on that. And also, whoever's listening to us right now, I want to encourage you, go ahead and share this out to anyone that you feel like will be able to resonate with my guy, King Dom. Dom, he's a speaker, author, coach, just a great dude, someone that, when their energy is nearby, you want to gravitate towards it, as my grandfather used to say, yeah, you want to stay close to the fire when it's cold out, man. So he's definitely a fire you want to stay close to. Whenever I love what you share, pain, turning your pain into power. So I'm thinking of that pain or that power, if you will, as a fire, right? Getting close to that power to kind of overcome that pain. And whenever you hear that, when I say it back to you, Dom, thinking in the perspective of a young man who potentially is going through some pain right now, what encouragement do you have for him to tap into that power to overcome that difficult spot that they're in?
Yeah, man. For any young man going through stuff, man, you got to remind yourself of your victories. Like no matter how small the victories were in life. Like one thing I've ever since I heard Sam Leibowitz said that he really coaches his clients to have a victory log where they would write down their wins for the day in a journal and then check back in 90 days to see how far they've come is definitely a confidence boost because that's truly what it is because you're creating a journal of proof that you can go back to. Like with myself in particular, my theme for 2022 was go the distance. That was my New Year's mantra, definitely go the distance. And I thought that was going to be in multiple areas. And I thought I was going to get all the goals I had set for myself done. And kind of like the whole next book thing not getting done, I was so disappointed at that. But when I look back on my podcast, I realized that I put out the most amount of content I've ever put out. I released around a good 171 episodes last year alone. That's more
Wow.
than my first. Yeah, exactly right. It's like, because when I sat down and looked at all the names, was running my stats, and I'm like, wait, dude, folks barely make it to episode 17. And I'm like, dude, I like in the world of podcasting, that can be dog years. So it's like, if you have that journal of proof, you look back over your victories, like with me, one thing that stuck out, and however folks receive it, that'll be on them, is that if I can do more than what other folks will do in a lifetime, that is definitely one thing to keep in mind, is that if you can do things that you've set yourself at a high level where you can perform at a high level and do more than what other folks have done in their one lifetime, then that should be encouragement to keep going and applying that to other areas of your life. So reminding yourself of those past victories, like even the good word itself, where David was in Ziglag and he wasn't even king yet. He was still really making a name for himself after killing Goliath. Like his own whole boys were ready to kill him, but that
Yeah,
man
I know,
prayed and
man.
that man went into Ziglag and took back what was lost. And the story is still quoted to this day in multiple sermons and Bible studies. Like, you got to really take stock of where you truly are, no matter how small the victory was. Because, hey, it's like, hey, if you go through a breakup, yeah, it's going to feel bad in the moment, but hey, you got to get back out there and be like, hey, let's play some Return to the Mac, baby. I'm back in the game, baby. Like, you just really got to really think about, no matter how small the wins are, going back over your wins. Like, hey, like that test, did you pass that test if you're still in grade school? Like, did you make it out of high school? Are you one of those extremely gifted and talented, disciplined kids that are doing college courses while in high school? That's a win. If you're a teacher going through some setbacks, have you at least made a way to set aside 15 minutes a day to do something for yourself and just for yourself, so that way you can keep your mind together? Because I know a lot of folks are going through it, teachers especially, now that we're basically battling smartphones and the aftermath of the pandemic,
Yes,
where
sir.
there's more mental health concerns that are a lot higher than what they were 5 years ago. So just really going back to those moments, thinking of when you had those wins that you've been blessed with, and seeing how those wins can apply to using your confidence to go towards the future and making yourself better.
Man, that's such fruitful thought, and that's gold what you shared. Whoever's listening right now, hopefully you got your pen and paper writing things down. But if not, it's okay. Go ahead and pause this joint, get your grab it, rewind it back. All right. So there's definitely a lot of gems, a lot of gold that's being laid out there. And when I say gems and gold, I mean application points that we can take and apply and take that daily challenge of implementing in our lives, because that's what we want to do here on GNG Podcast. And I love that victory law that you just shared, and writing down your victories and looking back on that. And I want to challenge whoever's listening to take that 90-day challenge. That's really unique, man. That's something I'll go challenge myself with as well. I do some journaling, but I never just dated it 90 days and then look back after that 90 days. So that's a different perspective of looking at it. So Don, whenever you hear success, the word success, I know you've talked to multiple experts. God, man, I keep going back to your podcast. That's such a huge milestone. Been over 600 episodes. That's a lot of minds that you have encountered. I'm sure you've maybe took a tip of technique from other minds and kind of put in your toolbox of life that kind of worked your life, moving through as God has called you to in your lane. When you hear the word success, what is your definition for success? Do you have one?
Yes, sir. And my definition of success is self mastery, and that stems from having that self awareness. And this actually even ties in with an episode a few episodes ago with Lenny Fuaxis, who really is all about that social emotional learning with Picky Patrick and her fabulous book. And really, with that social emotional learning, that self awareness starts with knowing who you are, what you want to do, and taking steps to making that become a reality. And if you don't know yet, sometimes that involves you finding someone who has what they want in life. Like, is there someone on your basketball team, your football team, baseball team, lacrosse team? Like, hey, are they good at a certain technique where it's like, I want to do just like them. I want to throw the ball just like them. I want to be able to tackle just like them. I want to be able to cut through and make folks break their ankles just like that kid over there. Like, borrowing techniques, and sometimes it involves learning from others that are better at certain things that you are currently that you want to do in the future, and then using the art of emulation to where you get around them and try to emulate them the best that you can. And heck, even like what you mentioned earlier about your wonderful grandfather said, hey, when it's cold outside and there's fire, you definitely want to get as close to the fire as possible. You want to get
Mm,
around that heat,
yes,
because if
sir.
you are around a passionate individual who is light themselves on fire and the world's ready to watch them burn brightly, you want to get some of that fire so you can burn brightly too. So success is self mastery that starts with self awareness. And that self mastery is continuously evolving, because a lot of folks who are elite performers, they continuously reinvent themselves. Like, if you're listening to me now versus episode 30, you're going to hear a difference. You're listening to Chaz now at episode 100. If you listen to his first episode, there's a stark difference. There's a stronger focus now. My man's got a deeper voice. My man's got more merchandise with the Gifted Differently t shirts that are well designed. My man's got a new son along with his two daughters, and still has a lovely wife with him. My man has had growth. You see the progression. Self mastery involves reinvention and progression. As you're progressing, you got to reinvent yourself constantly as you're growing. And then when you keep on reinventing yourself and making that wonderful progress, you'll eventually have that self mastery, which is really just a never ending journey of self growth.
Man, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I want each and every one of you whoever's listening to take that daily challenge on continue to grow, continue to get around people that are ahead of you and understand that, being stretched is going to be uncomfortable, but we have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. And I know Don will agree with me on this one is, there's going to be some failure along the way. So understanding that failure is not the enemy, and that's John Maxwell, man, he says it a lot in some of his writings, the lessons are going to come out of those failures. I think I read somewhere, I did read somewhere by the age of 16. Should I think? I did read.
It was somewhere, right? Found it somewhere.
I read it. I'm not promising I'm not making this one up, but it said that by the time that you're 17 years old, you've been told no 150,000 times versus yes only 10,000 times. So that blew my mind when I read that. And it was like some of those no's are necessary, right? Like if my 4-year-old daughter goes in there and get a butcher knife and start playing around with it, I'm just no, baby, give me that. There's some of them there to protect you. But I feel like, there's some no's that you need to step back, really evaluate and say, hey, is that no nourishing to me, or is it something that hold me back? And whenever we fail at some of the things that we're doing in life, for me, it's really learning those lessons and to keep consistent with it, to keep going and keep growing, keep evolving and tapping into that mastery that Dom's talking about. And that leads me to this. So I know you've been in the podcast world for a while, and there's somebody that's listening right now that's real interested in maybe potentially starting a podcast. Maya Angelou, she says this quote. She said, "There's no greater agony, meaning mental suffering, than the burying of an untold story inside of you." I feel like somebody's listening right now. They have a story that they want to share through podcasts or gift, a talent, or an idea. Is there any inspiration you may have for them, Dom, as far as, getting started and getting their message out there onto the world to encourage and impact?
Yep, sure thing. And great question, indeed. Fun question. Funny enough, that's actually my first point, is to really have fun, because the thing is, when you start a podcast, you need to have fun with it. And because the thing is, if you're not having fun with it, there's going to be another reason not to keep going. Because some days you're going to be like, man, alrighty, life just keeps happening. And it's like, I need life to happen so I can keep living. But it's like, like, oh, wait, the fun. Yeah. Talking with people. Yeah. Cracking up my own jokes and using interview conversations as fodder for future presentations, like having fun with it, and also really having a why for your podcast. Because the thing is, because I remember the original goal of the show, Summer Soldiers, the original theme for the summer, just equipping especially young males, especially young black males, with tools that they need to really succeed and get through life, and evolving as you go along. And the thing is, really having a goal for your show and having a why, especially if you have a product to sell too, because my podcast, Going North, it originally was going to be called something else, but the same idea was to really not only market my books, but the books of others and highlight other books and even independent musicians. And then it just drilled down to just the books from the guests I interview and my books as well. So if you're in business and you have a business, it's great to start a podcast. If you want to start as a hobby, that's cool too. But I'd say if you definitely have a business, a podcast will give you an advantage. And I'd say the next thing would be to not only have fun in the beginning and have fun continuously, knowing your why, knowing why you want to start your show, but also being open to making failure your friend, because like what Chaz mentioned earlier in the conversation, failure is not your enemy. It's definitely not your enemy, because I feel like I hit my interview stride around episode 190 something, because the thing was, I didn't know what the heck I was doing in the beginning, but I just had to start before I was truly ready. Delays kept happening. I kept making excuses, and after a while, it was like, man, excuses, it's just really noise. It ain't even background noise like a coffee shop where you hear music playing and people just talking and having conversation or whatnot. It was just noise. It was like a fire alarm. It's like, dude, we don't want to hear you trash. Like, start your thing already. So it's just be okay with sounding bad in the beginning and then grow as you go along. Because if you somehow listen to the first few episodes of the podcast, the content at its foundation is great, but sound quality is trash compared to now. So be okay and don't neglect those small beginnings and just keep going.
Wow, thank you for sharing that, Dom. And what if they want to go the extra mile? They like, I want to seek your mentorship. I want to, reach out to you, follow you. Can you share some of your contact information? If you have trouble finding stuff off of this, when you go back to 30, I know some things were shared, but obviously we've evolved a little bit. So yeah, just share your contact information, Dom, and how can the audience reach out to you?
Yep, sure thing. You can head over to dombrightmon.com. That's dombrightmon.com. I believe there's a calendar that's still active on there if you want to book a quick 30-minute call with yours truly, and you can get all things Dom there on dombrightmon.com. And there's also a free ebook as well, a free gift called The 21 Lessons Learned from 5+ years in Podcasting. If you want 21 free tips to start, grow, and manage a successful podcast of your own. Because after doing 600 and, well, to be honest, really 800 at this point, if you count the bonus episodes, I'm pretty sure I know at least a little something that'll help you out.
Yeah, a little something there, man. I got a little tip for you. Thanks, Don.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for shining your light and just doing what you're called to do. And what's funny is there's still breath in your body, so there's still more episodes, still more people to come into your path and to be influenced by you and just to be inspired by you, because what you're doing is transforming lives. And I'm glad to be in that space. And you being on episode 100 here, and it's cool to have people like you to be a source of encouragement, if you will. So I don't never take time with you lightly. And again, thanks so much for diving deep with me again and dropping some gems for the guest on GNG.
Hey, man, honored to be back, man. Like, dude, that flew by real fast, man. We might have to record for another 2 hours, man. Really get them some going. Throw them in the frying pan for a little bit. Be like, hey, come on, get some of this fish, baby.
You know, like fish grease in here, man. We'll give them a little appetizer. Hey, this definitely gonna be your last time. So we're gonna do this thing again, man. We're gonna do this thing again. But well, yeah, thank you so much, man. And I'm gonna lead us out, big dog. Hey, I told each and every one of y'all this is gonna be an amazing episode. Again, drop in the comments. Let us know what application point you're gonna take as you're continuing to strive to grow into a stronger version of yourself. And I want you to stay up with GNG. More episodes coming soon. I want you to do two things for me. Keep that crown on your heart. And please remember this. We are God's echo. I love each and every one of you. Peace.
Thank you for listening to GNG Podcast. Remember, you are gifted differently to make a difference. Please visit ChazJacksonSpeaks.org and let's continue to grow together. God bless.